Yes, good afternoon. Is it good afternoon? What time does it stop being afternoon? 5, 6?
6 o'clock, early evening, I suppose.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. SAVVA, joined by Lubo. Never talk about yourself in the third person. Again, SAVVA, and I've just done it twice. Lubo joins us this week. Stel isn't available. And I'm sure many of you will have many questions for the man, the myth, the legend that is Lubo. By the way, just getting some news in from Florian Plettenberg, nothing to do with Spurs, that Nico Williams has now signalled to Bayern that he can very well imagine a move to there. So watch that space. It looks like Nico Williams is going to be going there. And apparently his salary demands are £20 million per year. Work that out for yourselves. Lubo, happy times. How are you, sir? You well?
All good. Where are we? What's today? Wednesday, isn't it? Wednesday afternoon?
Wednesday.
Yeah, we got a new manager coming.
Well,
not announced yet, but
have
nearly
we?
there. Could be.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah. Yeah. New manager up and coming very, very, very soon. Listen, we'll have a little chat for a few minutes. I'll let the questions build up. I've got a few stored, many for Lubo, as you would expect, and we'll get to them in a minute. Anybody who's saying, the breaking news, I don't know if it is breaking news that Jack Grealish has been left out of Man City's Club World Cup squad. I think we know that Pep's having a complete rebuild with a lot of younger players, so I wouldn't expect him to be there anyway, but maybe somebody on our list, maybe him, maybe an Eze, who knows? I'm sure we'll get into it all. Lubo, it's been a very long week since last Friday. It was not even a week. It's been a very, very lively 5 days. I'm starting to see people get a little bit frustrated that this isn't over the line, but do you understand why, a kind of manager signing with all of his backroom staff isn't as quick as fans would like? Do you understand why this is taking a bit of time?
Oh, it could take to the end of the week. You're negotiating 7 different release clauses.
Yeah.
You're looking at, you've got the lawyers looking at 7 different contracts. So, this is one thing I'm not going to criticise the club about. They should, let them get it sorted. The transfer window is now closed until midnight. Where are we now? The 11th, midnight next Monday. Starts Tuesday morning. So hopefully everything will be in place by then. I'm sure Thomas Frank has given Daniel Levy a list of players he's looking for. I'd be amazed if he hadn't. And let's look forward to it. I'm sure we're going to get some good players between now and pre-season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, listen, you know how the transfer market works. It officially opens on there, but all the dealings will still be going on behind the scenes.
Sure.
The actual transfer window opening is when you can make it official, right? Look, everyone's always doing deals all year round, so I won't worry too much about that. Listen, lots of questions going in. Should we fire away with some questions, Lubo?
Fire away.
Gary Morton Barley, he WhatsApped me this one. So big up to you, Gary, out there in Dublin. So let me get this, let me get the ball rolling with this. Actually, before we do, big up to Ali Garcia. Very, very generous indeed. Said, hey, SAVVA, don't know why I'm sharing this on YouTube. I'm just in a daze. I got a call back from back home. My dad passed away from a heart attack today.
Christ.
Ali. I mean, look. First and foremost, you don't put money into me to tell me that. Listen, my advice to you, my friend, is first of all, very sorry to hear that awful news. Second of all, mate, jump off YouTube. Jump off YouTube. Go and do what you need to do. Speak to who you need to speak to. Let that news sink in. Don't worry about football, mate. Football's really not important. Yeah, we all row about nothing. This is real life. So I'm really sorry to hear that. And I hadn't read this comment before I started reading it out, if that makes sense. So really sorry to hear that, Ali. Really sorry. Really, really sorry.
Thoughts and prayers with you and your family.
Yeah. Sorry, Ali. Listen, just Just go and take your time. Honestly, forget Tottenham. It's football. Honestly, it's football. Don't worry about any of that. So faults with Ali there. Really, really sorry to hear that. So I'm just going to see which question's right. So let me get this question. And that's rocked me a little bit. Listen, I really hope you call family, call somebody, be on the phone to friends, do something. Don't be watching me. Don't be watching me talk about football. Honestly, it's not worth the hassle. Gary Morton Barley, big up to you, has said, question for later, blah, blah, blah. Domestic trophies and Champions League results aside, what Premier League position do you consider realistically illustrating we are back on track under Thomas Frank at the end of the next season? The emphasis on realistically. Lubo, I'll let you take that. So Champions League and cups aside, realistically.
I'm going to answer that on September the 1st when we know what players we've got.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that we'd have a team, the team would be strengthened and we'd finish sort of top 6. I think for me, and the Europa League and a second Europa League trophy at the end of next season, at the end of 27. For me would be something that I would be hopeful, I'd like to see. Let's see what money the club have got. Let's see the players that Frank can attract, and then maybe I'll answer that question in a more definitive way at the end of August, beginning of September.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think the difficulty when answering questions like that before the transfer window's really got going is my answer right now with the squad that we've got would probably be 7th or 8th, if I'm brutally honest. However, you bring in an Eze, I'm spitballing, you bring in a Paulinho, you bring in an Abuemo, and suddenly I'm going, hang on. Why can't we fire up the table? So listen, thanks for the question, Gary, but it is very, very difficult when we don't know who Spurs have signed. Let's go to some more questions. I'm going to pick them at random. AD, big up to AD, has said, question for both. Who's your top 5 Spurs winger in order? Now, AD, before we answer that, do you mean wingers we've seen or wingers that we've got? I'm not. How do you read that, Lubo? Just to be clear, how do you read that?
Top 5 Spurs wingers of all time.
Of all time? I
would probably say of all time. By the way, AD, I have not been PR trained. I can promise you that. Just saw your comment. No, if you can clarify what your question means. Are we talking about? We got 10 wingers at the club, so are we talking 5 from those 10, or are we talking about?
He said here, look, wingers you have seen. Okay, so Spurs wingers that you've seen, your best 5.
Jesus.
I could do mine easily. I reckon you could probably do more than me. Shall I do mine and then you say whether or not you'd add anyone to it?
Yeah, go on, you do yours.
Yeah, so David Ginola.
Yeah.
Immediately. Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
Chris Waddle. Hong-Min Son.
Not sure.
And a tough one trying to find another winger. I don't think we've had many great wingers outside of the ones I've mentioned. I mean, I'm just trying to think how far back I can go. Maybe if I was going to cheekily slip Darren Anderton as a right winger, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Who else? Who would you add that I've not mentioned?
Well, one that you wouldn't mention because you didn't see him was Cliff Jones, who I caught the back end of.
Yeah.
So I'd have Jones there with Waddle, Ginola, Bale. Whoa, who else? I mean, we had wingers that were all much of a muchness. Roger Morgan, Jimmy Pearce, Raul Fox. You're right, Cranchard. There's Aaron Lennon, maybe Lennon from Redknapp's team. So I go Anderson, I go Lennon. Apart from that, sorry. I've got Jones. You've got Anderson. Pretty much the same. Have we had
Did you have this man in there?
Who's that? Sorry.
That's David Ginola.
Yeah, I'll put Ginola in. I'm on your show tonight, so I'll put Ginola in.
If you weren't on my show, he wouldn't have been in there. Yeah, it's an interesting question though, because I don't think in the last 15, 20 years, if I'm honest, if we take away the obvious ones of Bale, Ginola, Son, there's not been many where you go, oh my God, they're outstanding, right?
Do you know what? Great shout, Marianne, Tony Galvin. He's in. And Nige. Definite. Great shout. Tony Galvin.
Was that Galvin?
Yeah, terrific. He was terrific. In Berkshaw's team, he was brilliant. No Russ, Andy Sinton, not.
Yeah, Andy Sinton, I definitely don't think so. I mean, listen, there's been some interesting wingers we've had. Like I liked Lennon, but Lennon was limited, but we knew what he was good at. Mm-hmm. You know, we've had lots of mediocre ones, haven't we? Rolf Fox, Andy Sinton.
That's right. Andy Reid, Ronnie Rosenthal,
Matty Everington. Everington. Wow.
Jimmy Robertson from the late 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Darren Anston for me, Anston was a funny player for me because when I think of him, I don't really think of him as a wide man or a centre mid. I know that sounds mad. Really good footballer, Darren Anston, wasn't he? Very good player. Yeah, Aaron Lennon. Yeah, listen, I liked Lennon. Aaron Lennon is everything I would like right now. Get the ball out to that right instead of Brennan Johnson and let Aaron Lennon beat his man. In
replying to Marios, I wouldn't put Moura in. He contributed towards one of the best nights I've ever had at Spurs, but for me, he was too inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And you know, you could look at the amount of performances, top performances, and there weren't that many.
Mm-hmm. Morton Barley, Gary has said Jimmy Neighbour. Just so you know, I worked with Jimmy Neighbour at Charlton before. He's passed now. But Jimmy Neighbour, any goods as a winger?
Yeah, Jimmy Neighbour was a good winger.
Yeah.
Again, you know, you had all these wingers. You had like Roger Morgan, Jimmy Pearce, Jimmy Neighbour. They were all much of a muchness. Mm-hmm. They're all much of a much.
This is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, Ili Dumitrescu was, I think the difficult thing was he was here for such a short amount of time, Ili Dumitrescu. And he never really settled. My memory of it was that he never really settled because there was the hype around him and Chica, right? Him and Chica Popescu, who left to go to Barcelona. But Dumitrescu was a very good player. And both of them had just come off the back of the... was it the 94 World Cup? 92.
I think it was 92 Euros.
Are you sure?
Oh, it could have been. I'm just trying to think. 92 or 94. It was around that time.
Yeah.
I'm sure Venables left in 93. Venables quit in 93 and all got the sack from Sugar, and Ozzy took over in 93. And I remember going to Ipswich at the end of that August, and the football they played was absolutely sensational. I don't know if anybody else on here saw that game. They were wonderful. That was one of, you know, if you said to me, give me 10 games that stand out in your lifetime, winning 3-1 at Ipswich was amazing. And you had Popescu, Dumitrescu, Anderton, Barmby, Sheringham, and who was the other one?
You had Sheringham, Klinsmann, Anderton, Barmby.
Was Klinsmann in that six?
Yeah. So Dumitrescu signed in 94, 95, the same year as Klinsmann. So it would have been the sum at the World Cup, right? So we got Klinsmann, Dumitrescu, Popescu, Anderton, Barmby, Sheringham. And it was, do you remember, it was like everything going that way was fucking amazing.
Wasn't it?
And then everything coming this way was dreadful.
I remember sitting in the rain at the Old Main Road. They were rebuilding a stand, and it poured down that October 22nd, and they gave everybody like plastic sheeting to keep dry. And we lost 5-2, And then the following Wednesday, we went to Notts County in the League Cup, and that was one of the, if you said to me, give me a worst 5, that rate's in there, and we lost 3-0, and Ozzy was gone.
Yeah.
And Jerry Francis came in, and then he lasted a couple of years, didn't he? But no, that was mad football. That was mad football.
By the way, lots of names being chucked around like Nasser Chadley and
Peter Taylor he's another good shout. Good shout.
My uncle swears blind on Peter Taylor, and he said that when he was the player manager of Dartford, he said that Peter Taylor still looked like the greatest footballer in the world. He said he was just head and shoulders above everyone else. And I definitely do not want to put Matisse Tell into this conversation. No. Wayne Routledge, no. By the way, Dumitrescu only ever played 18 Premier League games for Tottenham. So
he was a nice player. Nice
but
player. Again,
it was what it was. So look, a good question. I like that. I love a question that calls a bit of debate. We got a question from an unknown WhatsApp message from Perchy, not so unknown, that says, I have a question for Lubo. It says, with you being a massive Archie Gray fan, stroke agent, stroke father, stroke uncle, where do you hand on heart believe his highest level, or as the kids say, ceiling? Where is it and why?
Good question, Percy. Good question. What do I think? I think with the right coaching, I think if he bulks up, he's playing under 21s for England. I think he can make the full England team. And I think
full England setup.
I think he can make. He's under 21 level now. I think he can make the full. I can think he can be the full package, but it might take 2 or 3 years. Interesting.
There we go. There you go, Perchy. Lubo has just said that Archie Gray is going to be England's best midfielder and captain within 3 years.
That's slight exaggeration there, son. But listen, it's your show.
Archie Gray for England captain. Yes. Yes, it was Archie. Yeah, the same year. Yeah, it was mad. I remember that year because it was Sheffield Wednesday away in the first game of the season, and he scored that header, Klinsmann, and they all did the dive. Then I remember in his second or third game, which might have been the first game at White Hart Lane that year, Everton, and he scored a bicycle
scissor kick.
Yeah. God, isn't it funny what the brain remembers? Anyway, moving forward, but big up Marco Popescu as a fullback, if anything. Well, I remember Popescu being more of a number 6 type player, but hey, listen, the memory does what the memory does, and he was a top player, hence why he went to the sweeper centre. But yeah, listen, top player, went to Barcelona. Let's get to the next question, shall we? Just at random. Craig Henschel said, who's likely to stay and who's likely to leave and who's likely to come in? Jesus. Just give a few. I mean, if we did all the players, we'd be here all day, Lubo. So a few that you think will go, a few that you think will come in.
Richie to leave. I don't think there'll be too many going out. Can't see it. Who do I think will leave? Gill, Solomon, Richie. Either Basuma or Sarr. If Frank buys a 6, you don't need Bentancur, Sarr and Basuma. You don't need all 3. You've got Bergvall. I think he will integrate Gray as well because he wanted Gray for Brentford, and they agreed. I think it was 40 million, which is why for Gray to join Spurs. And that's the reason Spurs paid 40 million. And before anyone says no, I don't think that any 18-year-old who's played championship level football is worth 40 million. But unfortunately, transfer fees don't correlate with players' worth these days. So sometimes you overpay. I think there's Sherry and Barnby. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that game. Listen, we had some attack. I tell you what, just off topic. Big up to Tom. Just off topic. Nick Barmby was a good player. Nick Barmby was a really good player. Came from through our academy, right? Did he come from our academy?
Or did he come from Middlesbrough? I'm trying to think.
Jeez, let's have a look. I know he
He
played.
went. I think he went back to Middlesbrough, didn't he?
Yeah.
Super player. Lovely player.
Let's have a look. Nick Barmby. God, I remember he was very unorthodox. He came through at Tottenham. Came through youth at Tottenham. Then went to Borough. Then played for Everton, Liverpool, Leeds, Forest, Hull. 23 England caps, 4 England goals. Yeah, I liked him. I was a fan of Nick Barmby back in the day. Let's get to another question. Thank you for reminding us, Mark. Yes, we did used to have players like Paul Gascoigne. I don't think Lubo or I have ever forgotten that Spurs had Paul Gascoigne. I crave for Paul Gascoigne type players now. Let's have a look at the next question, shall we? Nate the Ape said, how long have you both been YouTubers? What's the best and worst bits? Lubo, how long have you been a YouTuber? What's the best and worst bit?
Year and a half. Best bits, probably being in your show from Bilbao, I would think, was probably the best 5 minutes I've had on YouTube. Worst 5 minutes, don't know. My wife storming the office the other night at 12:30 after I was doing my box office impersonation, and I woke her and my daughter up. So as I say, Stockley Park rescinded the red and took me down to a yellow. So I came back on your show after. That was a brilliant show. That was a great show that night.
Yeah.
A really good show.
One of my favourite moments as well was your wife storming the show. That was funny. I think my answer is probably very different from somebody who does it for a living. I've been doing YouTube now for 4 years, I reckon. But before that, I had a podcast for 2 years. So I've probably been doing this for 4 to 6 years. The best bit is you get to talk about football. The best bit is you get to talk, you get to learn, you get to speak to fans, and it's brilliant. The worst bit has got to be just the sheer volume of abuse, which over time you do learn to just shrug it off, but it never shocks you. It never shocks you the levels people will go to say something nasty. So that's the best and worst bits for me. But yeah, that's a good question. Big up to Nate the Ape. Let's have a look at the next question at random. Marios has said, what was Lubo's first game at Spurs? Why is that fly back? There's that one fly I can never get rid of. What was your first game at Spurs?
Good Friday, April 16th, 65, beat Blackburn Rovers 5-2, Gilsing 3, Greaves 2. I won't
65,
forget.
Yeah?
65. I won't forget walking into the East Stand, and we were on the, I'm just trying to think. We were on the right-hand side of the stand, and I remember walking up 2 flights of stairs with my dad, and then there was another set of stairs up to the seats. And I remember I could see through the gap walking up the stairs and just seeing green. I can still picture in my head getting to the top of the stairs and seeing White Hart Lane for the first time.
Wow.
Lovely, great day.
19. Stanley's coming.
Great day.
Sorry. When she opens the door, Stanley goes flying down. 1965. Wow. 1965.
Yeah, I was 7.5. I was 7.5.
Wow.
I took my son to his first game when he was 3.
Nice. And how old is he now?
25.
Oh. Wow. It runs in the Lubo blood. Adam Phillips saying that his was Villa Park 1990 or 91. Lost 3-2 to a David Platt hat-trick. David Platt. What a good player David Platt was. He chipped in, didn't he? He got some goals, that boy. And then ruined himself by going to Arsenal in later years. Big up to you. Let's have a look at the next question. Revenite said, what do you think of the Florian Wirtz signing? Lubo, it's 150 million euros, like all in with add-ons and stuff. It's the biggest in Liverpool's history. What do you make of it?
No pressure on Wirtz then, is there? Jesus, he's got to perform.
Yeah.
I think it's mad. I think it's absolutely mad that players are going for that sort of money. But it's just bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers.
He's a top player though. Like he's a top footballer. I've got no doubt about that. But for 150 million euros all in, you need to get 5 to 6 good years out of him, where he's giving you plenty of goals, plenty of assists, plenty of trophies, right, to begin to pay that back.
Listen, Liverpool fans may turn around in a few years' time and say, "What a signing!"
Yeah,
I'm not doubting his ability. I just think that 150 million euros is 120 million pounds. So you're looking at 50 million more. You're looking at, probably that's the highest. That will be the highest fee, Sav.
Sorry. I did say I was live, but the conversation went on. You know how it is. It went on. Sorry. Look, for me, I'm jealous, I would say, on one part. Not that it's 150 million, but more that we don't attract players of the caliber of Florian Wirtz. But I'll tell you what, the pressure is massively on Slot because he's won the league. Now they're spending for fun. Frimpong, Wirtz, Perkes. There's talks of Ekatike or Isak and these types of things. It's a big ask because from spending next to nothing to this is going to be hundreds of millions. If Liverpool don't win, the fans are going to be really unhappy, aren't they?
But they'll look at it and they'll say, well, we spent nothing last year. So this is 2 years' money that they're spending in one window, isn't it?
Sure. No, absolutely. But, they won it without spending. So now the pressure is even greater. And by the way, no one's asked me, but I'm going to offer this out. For me, I think that the league title is going back to City. I think they're signing brilliantly. I think they're signing smartly, good prices, very good players at the right age. I think the title's going back to City. Shoot me, knock me down. Good players.
I think depending on who Arsenal buy as a centre forwards, I think it'd be a 3-horse race, and those 3 will be so far clear next season of everybody else, and everyone else will be fighting for 4th and 5th place.
I completely agree with you, mate. As it stands, completely agree with you. But I mean, I was speaking to I'm not going to say I was speaking to an Arsenal YouTuber earlier, and he said it's just so frustrating that we're seeing Liverpool buying for fun, City are buying for fun. He said we've been third, second, 3 years in a row, and we're all sitting there going, why can't we act like that? And it's like, yeah, I said, I feel really sorry for you with all those second places and signing people like you are compared to us. So, but yeah, interesting times. We'll talk about the title a little bit later. Let me get to the, look at that ghost SAVVA was getting told off. What for? Why would I get told off? I'm a bloody angel. Why would I get told off? Yeah, listen, absolutely. Adam saying with that fee, Wirtz gets no grace period, has to hit the ground running. And I think this is an interesting concept, Lubo, because this is what the big fees do. It doesn't allow the player any time to say, you know what, okay, give me 10, 15, 20 games to new surroundings, new teammates. But at the same time, he is going into the Champions. He is going to be playing with people like Mo Salah, like Virgil van Dijk. It's not like he's coming into Tottenham and playing with Brennan Johnson and Solanke. Do you know what I mean? So I think Wirtz will have a great season. I think he's a really good footballer. Anyone who rolls their socks around their ankles, good footballer. Just saying.
We used to buy top midfielders, didn't we?
Oh,
long time ago.
I remember it well. Yeah. Yeah, we don't anymore. We don't anymore. But it's a there you go, Phil P. Big up Phil P. Woo! Woo to Phil P. He's
So
Phil.
that beats the British record by 12 million. Was it Caicedo was 115? I think.
Wow, is that true?
Caicedo, I think Fernandez was 105, then Caicedo was 115, and Chelsea bought both of them in the same season, didn't it? In the same window, and this is 12 million more than Caicedo now. So this is an English record.
Yeah. Wow. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. For all those Liverpool fans that have been having a pop at FSG, they can't now. They really can't now. It's a lot of. You think Kirkes is going for what, 40, 45? Frimpong was what? I don't know, 35, 40 million. It's not going to stop there. Fair play to them. And at the moment, as far as I can see, they haven't sold anyone to make it happen.
They got 10 million. They got 10 million for Trent, didn't they?
10, yeah.
Which is
that will pay Wirtz's agent, won't it? 10 million, that'll pay his agent. If you are Florian Wirtz's agent right now, you're sitting there going, set for life. John, the fisherman, has said, I think Arsenal will finish 5th. I'll be honest, I don't see, as it stands, I don't see 4 teams better than Arsenal. I don't. I think City and Liverpool at the moment are. I don't see that Newcastle are better than Arsenal. I don't see that Chelsea are. I don't think Villa are. I don't think we are. I don't know. What about you? I think 5th's probably a bit more hopeful.
No, top 3 will be between Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. Yeah.
It's going to be mad. As I said, I'm going to go with Man City. I just think Rayan Cherki is top player. I think Tijani Reinders is a brilliant box-to-box midfielder that loves scoring goals. So
they've spent 300 million since Jan, haven't they? City.
Yeah. They're already about 115 million this window. I told you, all the people saying get Pep out. Pep's rebuilding. Let him rebuild. It wasn't Lee Gunner. No, it wasn't Lee Gunner. I don't know. I do know other Arsenal fans than Lee Gunner, by the way, just so you know. Let's have a look. Yeah, I was speaking to my uncle earlier, Lubo. He said, when you break it down, what Man City are doing, when you look at their winger options, are Bob, Savio, Doku, and you could put Cherki in there as well, even though he plays more an attacking midfielder. You've then got Cherki, Marmoush, and Foden, Erling Haaland. You've got Reinders, Nico Gonzalez, Rodri, and Kovacic. McAtee and O'Reilly as youngsters behind that. And you've then got Vardial, Diaz, Akanji, Ake, Kusanov, Ait-Nouri. It's scary, isn't it? If it's scary. He's brought the age down in 1 year, in 2 windows. He's just got, boom, brought the age down. Anyway, thank you to Brent. Yes, this is the best comment of the day so far. Yes, thank you very much. Let's get to the next question. Where are we? Jimmy Hotspur has said, what happens to Frank if Levy is fired next week, as forecasted by James Black? I don't know who James Black is. Do you?
No.
But let's go with the question. If Daniel Levy was to leave Tottenham Hotspur in the next month, what happens to Frank?
No change.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. I'd love to be a bit more dramatic. Maybe if you've got a manager that's been there for a year or 2 years, then the new owner will come in, or the new chairman, and go, right. But I can't imagine Spurs are going to sit through, pay 17 million, 20 million pounds to sack Ange and bring in Frank and his team, and then go, right, sorry, Thomas. You've had 4 weeks of a transfer window. See you later, mate. So I don't think anything happens, Jimmy, if I'm brutally honest. Glenn, big up. Glenn, the stat guy, my stat guy. He's on holiday at the moment. There's no stats I need from him. He said, question, who gets shipped out this summer? And based on no new signings, where would this team be finishing next season? I think you said it, didn't you? Richarlison, definitely going to go. for you?
Yeah, I think Richarlison, Gill. I'd like to see Solomon give him the chance in pre-season and see how he does, but I think he'll end up going because I think unfortunately we'll end up bringing in Stel. Although that I'm reading that could be up. That's questionable now, bearing in mind Frank is there and not Ange. So for me, I think we need better than Stel. I think we need, for me, I'd love to see Mbeumo in, get a very good left winger in, and who Mikey Moore can shadow. I mean, Moore could play as a 10 as well, and he's not quite ready, but give him games next season, bring him off the bench. I think Mikey Moore is going to be a superb player for Spurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Listen, I listen. For me, as I've always said, Glenn. By the way, I don't think Newcastle are better than Arsenal. As much as I want to say they are, I genuinely don't think they're better than Arsenal. But hey, that's just me, Glenn. For me, Richie. I think Solomon goes. I think Hill goes. I think Højbjerg goes. I think you could see maybe a Jed Spence go. I don't know. I think he'll want to have a conversation with Frank and talk about first team opportunities. Otherwise, his career is just going to be sitting there and going like this, isn't it? I would expect maybe one or two of the goalkeepers go. One of the midfielders that Lubo said, whether it's Sarr or Bentancur or Basuma, I think one of them will have to go. Other than that, I don't think there are too many that can go. Kulu's not fit, so he's not going to be sold. Dragashin's not fit. He can't be sold.
Veliz is a possibility.
Veliz, he's a possibility. Maybe a Scarlett if we're looking at some of the youngsters leaving. Yes. I don't know. Maybe. And maybe Romero. I think that's definitely one. I feel like that might drag to the end of the window in terms of Romero. We'll see. We'll see with that. By the way, just for anyone that's interested, Fabrizio Romano has just said this. Doesn't affect us, but does in a way. But doesn't really at all. That Brentford have added Scott Parker to a 3-man shortlist of candidates to take over from Thomas Frank. Burnley coach happy at the club, while Brentford are also exploring this possibility. So that's going to be, watch that one. I think they also, I saw Carrick was in for it. Also Cochrane, who's currently we're trying to get over to Tottenham as part of Frank's team. So watch out on that one. That's going to be interesting. Gillett Boy said, Savvy, you're forgetting that Chelsea have that Brazilian wonder kid, Esteval. I haven't forgotten. It takes more than a Brazilian wonder kid for me, for Chelsea to catch up with the Cities and Liverpools. Though, for me, City and Liverpool have got game changers, like loads of game changers. At the moment, I think Chelsea have got a good squad. I don't know if they've got game changers. They haven't got a Salah, a Haaland. They haven't got a Cherki or a Marmoush. Good team, but that's why I think that they will go big. I think Chelsea will go big. Next question, Lubo. Next question. Choose carefully, please, Lubo. Choose your answer carefully on this one. There's a question for the legend Lubo. Cliff Jones or Ginola on the left wing?
Well,
Go on.
Well, Cliff Jones, he's quite a decorated Spurs legend, isn't he?
He is. He definitely is, yeah.
Fabulous player. He was instrumental, very much so, in the Spurs double team that I didn't see, unfortunately. I was just a bit too young. I think I was 3 the year they won the double. But fabulous player. Fabulous player. And, you've got to look at it. And for me, that was obviously the all-time best Spurs team that there's ever been.
Yeah.
No, terrific player, Cliff Jones for me. Ginola was a lovely player, luxury player. When he was good, he was terrific. Wasn't as consistent as he could have been. But then, a lot of the players like him, you go back through the years, Bowles, Alan Hudson, these boys were fabulous players. Yeah. But never, you couldn't guarantee you get 7, 8 out of 10 every game. You get a 10 and then you get a 4 or 5. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why Ginola fell out with George Graham.
Yeah.
That year, 98-99 year.
Yeah. By the way, just when people complain about adverts, guys, I don't know if people understand how YouTubers that do this as a full-time job get paid. So unfortunately, there are adverts, but the best way around it is like what I've got, YouTube Premium. I don't ever watch an advert. I pay like £10 a month.
Yeah.
I never watch an advert. You've got to remember, Gary, you lot watch for free, right? For me, this is a job. So when you lot watch for free, if you have to watch 5 seconds of an advert before you press skip, it's not a bad price to pay for a free show. So I do think people need to think about that. This isn't, you're not paying a license fee like you are with the BBC or Sky Sports or anything. You're getting free. You're getting some free content.
Yeah.
Just
can I answer Angus? Rivalry
Which
aside, 548. Who do I rate? Probably not my favourite Arsenal players. Probably the wrong way of putting it. But who would I respect the most? Who do I think was probably their best player that I've seen? Is probably Liam Brady by an absolute mile. He was phenomenal. What a player! What a player! And he was, him and Hoddle were the 2 stars in Division 1 at that time. And I know Liverpool and Everton during those years were flying, but Brady was a fabulous player.
Yeah, my uncle swears blind that Liam Brady is one of the best he's ever seen. I'll have to go with Henry. I know that sounds really, I say wishy-washy, best player I've ever seen in the Premier League. So I'd have to go with Henry. But luckily, you boys have had some top players down the years. When we had some really bad teams, we were watching teams like Vieira, Perez, Lundberg, Henry, and Bergkamp come to White Hart Lane and batter us. So it was, you have had some good footballers down the year.
I was there. The game Arsenal won 5-0 at the Lane, and Brady was just unstoppable that night.
Yeah,
that day he was just amazing.
Yeah. But by the way, people in the chat, I know everyone's now talking about adverts. Listen, I get it. They're frustrating. I get it. But when people, we do these shows every day, you got to be paid, and the only way if we get paid in 3 or 4 ways. The main one is YouTube adverts, and the second main one is super chat. So you've got to take that into account when people are talking about adverts. Best thing I ever done, YouTube Premium. Don't ever see an advert. It's brilliant. Let's go to the next question.
Mark Taylor, was Cliff Jones more of an inside forward? No. John White and Les Allen were more of, they were the inside forwards in that double team. Cliff Jones and Medwin were the wide boys and Bobby Smith in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, look, Mr. Post Office, I think Bergkamp was exceptional, but
then could have come to Spurs. Sugar said no, and he went to Arsenal instead. What a faux pas that was, Jesus. And it's interesting because that was mid-90s with Bruce Rioch, and Spurs and Arsenal were sort of level pegging at that stage, team-wise, and Arsenal went one way and we went the other. And it took until Poch to turn it round.
Yeah, look, let's move away from Arsenal. Just quickly before we move on, let me go to Mark Smith, who said, Ian, would you do a book on being a Spurs fan? Thanks for all your work, Mr. SAVVA. Would you? So, Mark, thank you very much. Very generous. Ian, would you write a book on being a Spurs fan? That could take you a long time, couldn't it? Could do.
Yeah. I've got all my programs in the loft. I've got the Lily White magazines from all those years ago, which was the Spurs magazine. Got all the handbooks up to COVID, all the programs. No, it'd be interesting to actually sit down and try and put a book together of mainly, Spurs through the years. Because I must say that there are some great books out on Spurs that cover the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And if anyone's interested, send me a message, send me a DM on Twitter, and I'll find out the names of the books for you. But there's some great books around that go into detail with each decade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, thank you very much, Mark. That's very, very generous. I do appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who puts in super chats. For me, I don't think enough YouTubers give these super chats enough attention. I think anyone who's paying deserves their time. So thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate that. And from that super chat to this super chat, just before I read this out, guys and girls, if these guys can super chat, out of the 505 people in here, surely more than 122 can press the like button. By the way, if anyone always wants to know why we ask for the like button, it sends the figures around YouTube. It gives the algorithm that more people are watching. So please, please, please smash that like button. I'm not asking you to pay. It's just there you go. A user, very generous, always is, has said, question, Levy will not spend big. What chance have we got with the Ezes and Semenyos? All other targets moved on. Has Frank got a say in the appointment? Lubo, what chance have we got with the Ezes, the Semenyos, and has Frank got a say in the appointment?
I would think Frank does. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised. I think there'll be maybe a couple of signings that will really lift the fan base. Just got a feeling. You know, we finished 17th. The owners would have got a shock at that league position.
Yeah.
And I think they'll put their hand in their pocket for Thomas Frank. I think it's all the timing has all come together all at once. We had a shocking league season. We've won a European trophy. We're back in Europe in the Champions League. And we've got a new manager, and I think everything put together, I think they'll spend some money. Mm-hmm. I think with ducking and diving, I think they will be. It's at Lubo _61, John. I think they'll be
at Lubo
_61.
There you go. Put it in the chat.
Yeah, I think they'll duck and dive. I think there'll be money coming back in on players, and they'll use that plus X amount. For a net budget to go and spend. I'm quite confident. I'm looking forward to next season. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you know what? I've heard from a few people. Again, when I say I've heard from a few people, I don't ever know what's true or not, but I've heard from a few people that Frank has demanded a few things, which if he has, credit to my man, Thomas Frank, all aboard the Frank engine, right? And if he has, and we are pleasantly surprised by a few signings, then maybe it shuts up the people that hate Frank. Maybe it can quieten down some of you lot, Lubo, that hate Levy. And maybe we can have a season where we all pull in one direction. Can you imagine it, guys? We're all pulling in one direction. I think we will make some underwhelming signings with Spurs. I do agree with Lubo. I just got a feeling we might get one or two in where we go, we wouldn't have done that before. I'm also hearing that Frank, I can't say where from, I'm also hearing that Frank has asked for a number 6. So I'm hoping that is the case. I'm hoping, because if he can see it and we can all see it, right, then I think it needs to be done. Big up to you. Thank you very much for that super chat, a user. Sorry, loads and loads of questions. I'll try and get through as many as I can. Well, let's have a look. Next one here. Alexia said, Lubo and Sava, your thoughts on bringing Eze and Guehi? How realistic is that? Do you want to go first?
Eze, I'd love to see at Spurs. I believe I've read somewhere that he is a Spurs fan as well. So I would think that is possible, particularly with Champions League football. Guehi, can't see it. I think he may well end up in Liverpool.
Lubo, my answer is going to be very, very similar. I love Eze. I have heard he's a Spurs fan, probably from Lubo. And also his agency that he's with, we are very, very closely connected with, right? Is it CAA? I was getting the name of CAA, isn't it?
Yeah,
so listen, his name's been connected with Tottenham for years. So I'd love to see it. Can't see Guehi. Guehi is going to be sought after. He's England's main centre half, right? When all is said and done in the big games, Guehi starts all the big games for England. He's English. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He ticks all the boxes. He's always fit. He's a captain. For me, I think you're going to see a little bit of I think that could be a race between some of the big boys. I genuinely don't think we would get him. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. I think he'll have more attractive offers. Don't be surprised to see a City, a Newcastle. They wanted him.
Yeah,
Chelsea. He's from Chelsea. Don't be surprised to see a few of these. We'll see. Good question. Thank you, Alexi. Really appreciate that. This one was good. Where did I see this? Here we go. So Duke, Cunha's and Mbuemo's era. Love that. So I got a Man United fan. So do you think Mickey van der Ven can get to an Alderweireld Vertonghen level? Can I go first on this one, Lubo? That's all right. We'll do it in turns. I'm going to say no. I don't think he's... I think Van der Ven's good. I think he's going to struggle with injuries, this boy, throughout his career. I can see that a mile off. I think he relies a lot more on pace than those two did. Those two, for me, just looked natural. I don't know if that makes sense. They just looked... I felt like they made it look easy. I don't think he will now. Doesn't mean he won't. It's just my opinion. Lubo, what are you saying? Mickey van der Ven.
I'll let you again. I'm gonna sit on the fence because I've only seen Mickey play in a high line.
Right.
And
very true.
And in a high line, you need his pace, and he's the fastest player in the Premier League. So playing in a high line. He looks fantastic. Let's see how he plays in a lower line. In a drill defence, which we're going to have now with Thomas Frank. We're not going to have this chaos, thankfully. So hopefully, yes, you want your players to hit the heights, don't you? Mm-hmm. So no, love to see him hit the heights of Vertonghen. What a player Vertonghen was. I've got to tell you, some of the comments and the questions and everything that's going on in the chat today, absolutely superb. For an old boy like me who's seen Spurs for many years. Keep these questions coming. They are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Let's have a look. So Glenn Hoddle 11. What a player he was. I said, should we be concerned about other clubs showing an interest in Paratici? Obviously, Paratici isn't available to join until, is it the 29th, 28th, something like that of June. Any troubles there, or is this done? Do you think this is done?
No, I hope he was in the box at Spurs for the last few home games of the season. So I would think Paratici will be joining.
Yeah. Listen, I think he's joining. I think there's too much smoke on that one. I mean, every time I turn around and put the TV on, Paratici's at the game, like he's there. Levy loves him. We know that, the way he speaks about him. So I think it's done. However, this is football. Anything can happen in football, so we'll wait and see. Big up to Terry, who said Palace is in Europe. Why would they sell their best players? First and foremost, you've got to think that Guehi has got 1 year left on his contract. Crystal Palace are a small club in relative terms, Lubo, without me being rude about them. And I can't imagine they would turn down 50 to 60 million versus zero next summer. I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe they'll take that risk. I can't see it.
Another motivation is for Eze would be the World Cup at the end of the season. So, and he's unfortunately, it's the bigger clubs get more exposure, and players from those bigger clubs seem to end up having more chance of playing for England than clubs from lower. Though Eze has been a regular, hasn't he? Mm. But no, I'd love to see Eze join Spurs.
Mm. Oh, for sure. Listen, I think Eze's one of those that I just want something different. I want to watch someone that isn't a square peg in a square hole. I want to watch someone that does X, Y, Z, if that makes sense. I want to watch someone who's a little bit of a outside of the box thinker. Someone who, when he gets the ball, you'll probably be frustrated some of the time, but other times he's going to do things where you go, oh, Jesus, that was worth the entrance fee. And I was always taught. I remember when I did my coaching badges. I did my coaching badges with a guy called Nicky Milo. Don't know if you knew the name. He coached at Millwall for years and years. Greek guy, really rough voice like this, smoked like a trooper. And he always said to me, when judging a player, always ask yourself, would you open the curtains if they were playing at the bottom of your garden? He always used to say that. And at that time, I was like, I would for Ginola. Yeah. And Eze is one of those. So we'll see. Big up to you. Thank you very much for that question. Next question. Francis Reynolds said, did you ever see John Fashanu play? Well, I mean,
yes.
I did, and you did, right?
Yeah, I was there when he put his elbow into Gary Mabbutt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah, that was deliberate. He should have been banned for half a season for that. That was absolutely outrageous. It was just a battering ram, and he sort of fitted in very well with, what do they call them at Wimbledon? Trying to think. Crazy game. Crazy game. That's it.
Crazy game.
He fitted in well. He was a decent player, but no better than that. Funny enough, talking about centre forwards. Couple of questions in the comments. Chris Armstrong or Les Ferdinand? So Les, Greaves or Kane? Greaves. He was special. And you've got to remember that the pitches that Spurs played on in those days were like mud baths. And he just skated around like, he just glided on them. So, no, Greavesy definitely in front of Kane.
By the way, just quickly, Sky Sports are just putting up this calendar year. By the way, let me pause this. This calendar year, right? Since January the 1st, Man City have spent £292 million.
Yeah.
Chelsea have spent 101. Man U have spent 92. Liverpool 60. Brighton 50. But the difference is, for Brighton's 50 million, they've got 5 players. So Brighton are averaging out at 10 million a signing. Man City have got 10 transfers at 292 million pounds. I just thought that was interesting reading. And that number for Liverpool, by the way, is about to go right through the roof. Let's get to some more questions. Big up to everyone so far. Big up to Gary, who said, okay, I'll suffer the ads. Laugh out loud. Here's a super chat, mate. Thank you very much, Gary. Yeah, just remember the ads are only 5 seconds and then you can press skip ad, right? So, or best ever £120 you'll spend a year, YouTube Premium, so you don't watch ads, but I still get paid off it. So, yeah, best thing I could ever recommend anyone to do. Big up, Gary, who's always been a big support to my channel, so thank you very much. Paul, when the Spurs go marching in, big up Paul, has said, question, considering Levy's patience with managers, do you think we spoke to Frank in January and asked he would move then? Or do you think Frank said, wait till the end of the season, hence why he was not sacked before the end of the season? What's your conspiracy theory on the Thomas Frank front?
I think any time during this season, I think they would have had conversations. The season never took off. I mean, we had Bilbao at the end. We had the games at Frankfurt. In fact, both legs against Frankfurt, I thought we played well. We were fine against Bodo, and we shit our way to a win in Bilbao. So those 5 games aside, the rest of the season never ever took off. You get a nod, you get Villa and City within 3 weeks in November. And I think that was probably it. That was as close as it came to a good run. Yes, definitely Morton Barley. Greaves, there should be a statue of Greaves and Nicholson and Blanchflower. But I never forgive Sol Campbell.
Don't indulge him. I was just giving it.
Never, ever. That's one thing you don't do. It's one thing you don't do. You don't go through the academy at Tottenham. Tottenham have a chance of getting 15 million from United 12 months earlier, and you turn it down knowing that you're going to go on a free. You're going to do the club up even for money. You're going to go to our biggest rivals, and Spurs will get screwed for a transfer fee. So no is the answer for that one.
Yeah. Just quickly on the question that you were just asked about the Thomas Frank thing. I believe myself that Thomas Frank was spoken to way before the Europa League final. I don't believe that this was suddenly look,
No.
for whatever we want to say about Levy, whatever we want to say about everything that's going on, Lubo, we had the chat a few months back where I said, I've just got a feeling it's all happening behind the scenes, hence why he's not been sacked. Because if everyone, listen, forget, again, I'm not knocking him, but Levy never lets managers get to 17th in the table. So for me, this was always going on in the background. Something was happening. I had my days where I phoned Lubo and said, oh my God, is he staying? And Lubo always brought me back down to earth and said, nah, can't see it. Levy won't allow it. And I was like, oh, Lubo, please tell me it's not true. And listen, I don't believe that this was suddenly a phone call on Friday morning that, hey, we're sacking Ange today. Do you want to be our manager? I believe this would have been in the offing. Listen, the clue is in Brentford for 2 to 3 weeks before that. Apparently, there was no press conferences or anything from Thomas Frank. There was no statements on players, on anything. I got a feeling that Brentford would have known this was going on as well. So, yeah, I think this has been in the making for a long, long time. Let's get to another question, shall we? This is a very random one. I like this. Alexi has said, Lubo, how good for you was Nico Crancher, old Harry's mate?
Harry loved him, didn't he? Took him from club to club.
Yeah.
Again, great in flashes, but inconsistent. It was just never really hit the heights. He was okay. He was a decent player. He was a decent player, but
yeah, I liked Nico. I thought Nico was a good footballer, but you're right. I think Nico Crancher was one of those ones where when he turned up, you went, oh, hang on. And then you were like, why is this guy not starting every week? And then you'd have other games where you go, oh, that's why he's not starting every week. Technically brilliant, though. Really, really good footballer. And I just love that Harry took him everywhere. You know, Nico, Jermaine, Nico, we're getting the gang back together. We're all loved all that. Loved all that. And Harry was fiercely loyal to people like that. Let's get to the next question. Dan, big up, Dan. Hope you're well, man. Anyone who hasn't, please get over and subscribe to the Hotspur Hood, who was my vote for most underrated Spurs YouTuber. You're welcome, Dan. I'm sure Dan voted for me for all the 5 categories that I'm in as well. I'm sure he did. Big up to you, Dan. Said, yeah, Levy had a plan. Said it in January. Totally agree. Yeah, there's no way, whatever you think about Daniel Levy, that he sat there and went, yeah, I'll just let him keep getting lower and lower and lower. And all the people that said, oh, I'm sure he sat down with Levy and said, oh, we're not going to worry about the league. I can't imagine Daniel Levy ever going, yeah, all right. 3 million a league position. Yeah, don't worry about it, mate. Just don't worry about it.
No, fully agree. There was a comment very early on, one of the first few comments. If I don't trash the chairman, then there will be £50 going into a charity of your choice. So get your checkbook out.
Yeah. Lubo hasn't said anything bad about Levy.
No.
And I believe that was that Rob, someone, what was that, Welsh Rob, Spurs Rob, someone?
Could have been, yeah. It was sent at 2:30 this afternoon, I think.
£50 for the charity of my choice. Okay, let's see if he's still in the chat, and I'll think about a charity of my choice. This is a question. I like this. This is naughty. Jamestown, is it Robbie Keane or Jermaine Defoe? 2 very different players. Both, I would rip your arm off, Lubo. I'd give your right arm to have either of them up front for Tottenham right now.
Not yours.
Not mine. Yours. Not yours. Not mine. Yours. Did you have a preference? Keane and Defoe?
Jesus. I think Robbie Keane.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Keane. Just listen, they're both fabulous players. I just think Keane has slightly more to his game than Defoe.
Yeah, look, I agree he had more to his game. For me personally, I loved Jermaine. When we signed Jermaine because Jermaine's the same age as me. So when we were playing school football in and around London, you knew who all the players were that played everywhere, right? And everyone would be like, oh my God, have you seen this kid there? Have you seen this kid, plays for that school, but he's not really allowed to because he plays for West Ham or Arsenal. You had Ben Chorley. Don't know if anyone remembers Ben Chorley, played for Arsenal at centre-back. Ben Chorley was the one in my area, played for Crown Woods, who is the biggest school.
Did he go to Middlesbrough?
Not sure if he went to Middlesbrough. I know he ended up at AFC Wimbledon, but you had Ben Chorley. You had Danny Murphy, who is, my best mate, Woody, the one with the afro, does the Formula One shows and the presenter at Cholton. He went to school with Danny Murphy, who came through the QPR Academy and then represented Ireland, played for Ireland, and then ended up at where did he end up? He ended up at clubs like Motherwell. I might have made that up. Was it Motherwell? Yeah, he was at Motherwell for years and years and years. Then went and played for Cork. But anyway, we always heard about the boys that were on East London side. And it was whatever you think you've got over in South. There was two boys talked about. One was Joe Cole, right? And the other one was Jermaine Defoe. And then we all saw that when Jermaine went out on loan from West Ham to Bournemouth at the age of 17, broke the Bournemouth goal scoring record. Didn't he score like in 11 games in a row? Yeah. And he was clinical. He was a goal scorer. I love Jermaine. Love Jermaine.
Talk about Defoe. I was right behind the goal at Hull. Must have been 2011, possibly around that sort of time. And Spurs won 5-1 that day, and Defoe got a hat-trick. And his fifth goal from the edge of the box, I have never seen a shot hit the net as fast as that.
He mastered the art of the no backlift shot.
Explosive, just explosive.
But I say it now about forwards. I don't see enough forwards now. When Defoe was 30 yards from goal, 40 yards from goal, his first thought was, how can I shift this out of my feet? Yeah. And I'm either going to run at goal or have a shot. And now I watch centre forwards and everyone seems to want to lay off the ball. Everyone seems to want to put it out wide. Get me a Jermaine up front. I love Defoe. And a lovely guy. Brilliant man. Brilliant man. Makes millions of pounds a year for charity. Top guy. Top footballer. Yeah,
well, you saw what he did for the Sunderland boy, didn't you?
Little Bradley, yeah. And that ripped him apart from what I've heard. It apparently ripped him apart.
Sure. Sam, can I answer Travel World? What did my dad think of John White? He thought it was phenomenal. You had players in those days. I mean, John White. You had Duncan Edwards, who perished in the Munich air disaster at 58. And these, my dad told me, these were two of the greatest players that he'd ever seen. And it's just a shame that they were taken before their time. And John White was hit by lightning on Enfield Golf Course, Whitewebb's Golf Course, in the summer of '64, and I didn't get to see Spurs until Easter '65. So unfortunately, I just missed him. But he was meant to have been a phenomenal player. Mm-hmm. Absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm. No, look, absolutely. Listen, we've had some top players. Listen, we've got, I don't know how long Lubo's got, but all the while he's comfortable for time. We've got a lot of questions to get through. Are you okay for time, or what time do you need to jump on?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
I've got some great, I tell you what, loving it today, guys and girls. You've got some great questions in, but what you are not being very good at is the likes. 205, and there's 570 of you in here. Can we get that at least to 300, please? ASAP. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. We've only had one new subscriber in an hour and 10 minutes or whatever it is, an hour and 10 minutes. And we are 5 subscribers away from 18.5K. So please do smash that subscribe button that's pinned and smash the like button. Loads of questions. Jay Ashraf said, hi, Ian and Sava. Hello, Jay Ashraf. If we get completely trashed by PSG, fans will naturally go into meltdown on Frank. But how should we treat the game?
Very simple. Be Frank's first competitive game. You're playing against the European champions. Just going back to Jay, what would you expect Spurs to do against PSG? Having seen that performance in the Champions League final, you've seen Spurs all season and probably for many years, what do you expect Spurs to do in that match? I mean, if I was going with Ange as a manager, I would expect us to get done by 7 or 8. Now, I still think we'll be well beaten, but probably not by as many.
Yeah, look, I think it's a difficult one. First and foremost, I think we're talking about a game that's 2 months away. And we're talking about a manager that hasn't even walked through the door, had a training session, been allowed to implement anything. Second of all, like Lubo said, PSG are phenomenal. This is a really scary PSG team that just absolutely ripped apart many teams. I just think the aim would not to be embarrassed, but I don't think it matters who manages us in that game. They're the massive favourites. I don't think anyone... We can go in with our blinkers on going, we're winning this. But realistically, deep down, I think we all know that they're the favourites. They're the overwhelming favourites. Sorry, there are so many questions. So I'm going to try and get through to as many as possible. Lots about Kane that I'm going to get to in a minute as well. Everyone loves a conversation about old Harry. Where are we? 1 second. I saw a question that I liked earlier. I can't see it now. Can't see it. Let's go with this one. Luan has said, Lubo's favourite ever player. Lubo, I'm going to ask you for 2. Your favourite ever Spurs and your favourite ever.
Glenn Hoddle.
Shock.
Favourite ever player. Jesus. Favourite ever player. God, that's a whole one. There are so many. I love the top players from the old days, like Pele, even Maradona, Eusebio. It's a great question. If I've got to pick one, I'll probably go for Pele. That was phenomenal. There you go.
Second. Ignore me. Everyone ignore me.
There you go. Let's see if any under Frank, which players would I like to go for? I'll start with Eze. I'd go for Paulinho. We wouldn't get him, but I'd go for Isaac as well. And they'd be my 3.
I did see it.
Jennings or Ray Clements for me. Pat Jennings was in my favourite keepers. My 1, 2, 3 was Jennings, Clements second, and Reece third.
Yeah, I saw a question. Big up to Ian JD, who's just said, guys, this is just a great show. Big up to you. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important, by the way, to have these conversations. A lot of Spurs fans I speak to, it's amazing how many of them haven't really done any research on our past and our history. And I always find that quite crazy. Sometimes in the chat, I'll say, oh, this player, and people will go, who's that? You're like, what?
So give me 2 minutes. I've got to put the oven on for dinner.
Yeah, no, go for it. I understand the drama. Big up, Ian. Really, really appreciate you, mate. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate that. I did see a question earlier that I liked, and I can't find it for love nor money now. There's a lot of comments. I'll ask Lubo when he comes back anyway. Anyway, let's see some other comments that aren't questions, by the way. David Bruce. David, if you want me to answer questions, please don't use a picture of me in the thumbnail. You just look like an idiot. No offense. So I'm going to put you in a timeout until you grow up a little bit. Big up to you. Rich said, I was told every game under Ange was a free hit. So it should be the same for the Super Cup. Well, again, let's see if we apply the same rules to Frank as we do to Ange. Let's see if we do. Mahfouz has said they might have Kvaratskhelia, but we have Johnson. Yes, absolutely. And you said, will PSG have started pre-season training by then? I'm guessing they will. The game's in August the 9th or something, isn't it? August the 10th, something like that. There's loads and loads and loads and loads of comments. It's up. I don't think I've ever seen it this rife. G Giant said, "Do you think Spurs will be able to arrange a match for the UEFA CONMEBOL Club Challenge?" No, mate, no idea. I've got no knowledge of this. I've got no idea, I'm afraid. Sorry, really not the best person to ask about that sort of stuff. Never compare Jimmy Greaves to any other striker. It's a no-brainer. Greaves is incomparable to anyone. Yeah, absolutely. From what I hear, from the videos I've seen, Jimmy Greaves was just different level. Just different level. But some people want to say it's Kane. Obviously, from what I've seen footage-wise, Jimmy Greaves was miles better. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a fan. Yano has said, Maradona's still the best player I've ever seen. Best player I've ever seen. This man here, number 10. Lionel Messi. Hang on, let's see if we can just get him overlapping there. There you go. Best player I've ever seen, Lionel Messi. Just for me. Only me. So Lubo considered Messi an average player. I don't think he said that, did he? Phoenix said, "Did you hear about Ledley King back in the day as well? I played against him and Lua on the same team. Lua. Wow. Lua. Wow, that's a name. I forgot him. I used to get past people with ease, but Ledley was unreal. Didn't really hear a lot about North London. It was just Joe Cole was the one. Joe Cole was the one talked about across all of London school football at my age. And boy, was he good. He was different good, wasn't he? Like crazy good, Joe Cole. Morla said Ginola and Stoichkov. Hang on. There you go. My chair's not very straight, is it? If we look there. Timothy Atuba. What a player. Do you agree?
Goal at Newcastle. Atuba. Smashing goal that was.
I've got loads of questions, Lou, but let's get to them. Savvy or famous? I'm really not. Just people like making memes about me. Guys, question to both of you. Was Rebrov the worst signing at the time when we signed him? I felt sorry for Rebrov, if I'm honest, Lubo, at the time.
He was an okay player. I would prefer to have got Shevchenko.
Wouldn't we all?
He was at Chelsea, wasn't he?
Wouldn't we all have preferred Shevchenko? Yes.
I remember him scoring a couple at West Ham at Upton Park in a cup quarter-final, I think it was. But no, not for me, Rebrov, unfortunately. Flattered to deceive.
Yeah, I think he's another one of them. It's always dangerous, isn't it? You know, sometimes players are hyped so much, but sometimes the right manager, the right teammates, the right setup. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into why a player doesn't always work out. That's what I always thought about Soldado. Soldado came from a club that played 4-4-2, played with a big man that did all the work, allowed him to score the goals. He came to Spurs and we've got him running channels, holding the ball up. And I thought, this isn't what this man does. Shevchenko at Chelsea, they had him running the channels. It's not what Shevchenko does.
No, the shame with Soldado was that he had, who was he playing? Was it Sociedad or Valencia he was playing for?
Valencia.
What's Lubo putting in the oven? Potatoes, David. Sorry, what was I talking about? Soldado. He had two wingers that went outside fullbacks.
Yes, yeah.
And then put the ball in for him. And we had Townsend and Lennon that played as inverted wingers, sort of right-footed player on the left wing and left-footed player on the right wing. And that completely closed the space down for Soldado to move. So that was never going to work. And as it turned out, it was a blessing in disguise because Harry Kane came through.
Yeah, just big up Moni D. It says, Savva, well done on making things right with Hotspur Hippie. Listen, I saw he did a charity stream. And for me, that goes past all football opinions. When people are raising money for charities that help people stay alive, that's gone past that. So fair play to him for doing that. And as I said, I've got no problem with Paul. He knows that. So don't worry about it. It's all good. And if anyone hasn't, then please do. Please do go and subscribe to him. And also for the charity. I think, guys, football's so... We lose our minds in it. And listen, we're all crazy about it. We've seen Lubo lose his mind over Romero and stuff. But nothing is more important than health and life. Nothing. Right? Nothing is more important than that. But thank you for that message as well. That's very, very much appreciated. Lubo, I've got questions. I saw one there from the Rude Boy Sound. I love the Rude Boy Sound. Said, SAVVA, are you guys impressed with Lang and McKenzie, the job so far? It's an interesting question, Lubo. Do you want to take that? You go first.
McKenzie, I don't know much about. Lang brought Bergvall in for 8.5 million. So you got to take your hat off. That is an amazing deal. That could be the same sort of deal that like a Delhi 5 million deal was.
Yeah,
I think Bergvall will just get better and better. And listen, Will, he'll be working with Paratici. Let's see where we go to next.
Yeah. I listen. I think it's really difficult to judge. For me, said a long time. Everything I've heard about Lang is that he's more of a youth guy, and I get the feeling that he's going to carry on doing that and allow Paratici to be the guy that goes for the grown-ups. So I don't really know a lot about McKenzie, like Lubo said, but what I do know is I don't want Lang as the main guy, and I think Spurs have worked that out. Hence Paratici coming back. Let's have another look at some of the questions, shall we? Jimmy has said, Lubo, Chivers or Lineker? Chivers or Lineker?
Chivers for me. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see Chivers, so I can't comment on this one.
Yeah. Lineker scored, I remember Lineker scored 2, didn't he, against Arsenal in the semi-final with a Gaza free kick. But I remember, you remember things when you're growing up, when you're in your teens, mid-teens. And I remember going to Wolves that day for the UEFA Cup final, I think it was, and Chivers scored then, and the League Cup as well. It's 72, 73. They were great. I mean, Chivers was superb. I mean, he got a hat-trick, I remember, against Forest in October 71. I remember I just run a cross country for my school. Told him I was always a sprinter. Told him not to put me in. One guy dropped out. I came last out of 169, and I nearly missed the match. It took me so long to run that cross country. And I remember getting to the ground, got in at 5-3. I was absolutely knackered, and I just sat there, laid back on the what do you call it? Terraces, I can't even think. You know what you lent on the terrace? Just
yeah. I know what you mean. I'm struggling to think of the word as well.
A mind blank. Just watched Chivers hit a most amazing hat trick. It was just a phenomenal centre forward. Came from Southampton for 125 grand. He was brilliant. Lineker was, how long was Lineker for? 3 years?
Yeah, what possibly? Was Lineker? 80? Was Lineker 89? Came. Or he went in 92, didn't he? He lasted one more year than Gaza, didn't he?
Lineker came as Waddle left, didn't he? And I think that was 88.
Let's have a look. Here we go. Gary Lineker went to Spurs in 89. He did 89, 90, 90, 91, and 91, 92. 138 games, 80 goals. That's not a bad record, is it? 80 and 138.
And you know what? It took him 6 games to open his account. I remember being at Norwich when he scored and the relief from everybody. Anyway, I just can picture the ball going across, put it straight in, and he just went on from strength to strength after that. It's brilliant centre forward.
Yeah,
but for me,
in his 3 years at Spurs, 26 in his first year, 19 in his second year, 35 in his final year. And yeah, you think in that 2-year period, we lost Gaza one summer, then the summer after was Lineker, and it was like, oh, Gaza and Lineker, and then luckily we got Teddy through, didn't we? Got Teddy through the door. And talking about Teddy, here's a question that involves Teddy, if I can find it. Where is it? Where is it? Why can I never find the questions that I saved that I wanted? 1 second. Bear with me, Lubo. I think it was just literally, there you go. It was this. Joe Beasley asked Teddy or Berber. Oof, that's a good question, isn't it, Lubo? I take both right now, even at their age. Even at Teddy Sheringham's age, I'll take him instead of Solanke.
Sure.
Very similar in some ways. In some ways, very similar.
I can't split him. I couldn't split him. Could not split him.
I'm going to have to push you for an answer.
Then I'll go Teddy.
You know what?
By the finest of margins.
Teddy for me scored goal after goal after goal in really poor Spurs teams. And if you remember, I'm saying it like I know you will, Lubo, but for those who don't remember, let me just make sure I get the right season here. In the 93-94 season, he missed half the season, if you remember. I think we tried people like Sedgley up front, and like I just remember like we had nothing up front, and we were trying people up front. But Teddy Sheringham in a Spurs shirt did this. Teddy Sheringham did this. No, that's Gary Lineker. Teddy Sheringham did this. 28 in 47, 15 in 21, 23 in 50, 24 in 37. And then when he came back to Spurs, he was older by that point, but he got another 26 goals in 78 games. A fantastic goal scorer. Berbatov, the best first touch I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt, I'd argue. One of. It was Hoddle, of course, but...
Do you remember the goal he got at Charlton? Do you remember that goal he got at Charlton?
Oh.
Berbatov. If anybody wants to YouTube a Berbatov goal at the Valley, I think it was May 2007. Fantastic. Watch this goal. You'll never tire watching it. Just superb.
Do you remember the game? Didn't he get 5 against Reading?
4 or 5
against Reading, 5 against whatever it was.
4 or 5. We won 7-4.
Yeah,
and that was just before the new year that year.
Yeah, gosh.
And there was a performance. Him and Keane. We went to Fulham in the FA Cup. Was it 06, 07 possibly? And we won 4-0. And those two scored 2 each, and they tore Fulham to pieces. It was just like it was fabulous watching them.
Yeah. It was, listen, I loved both of them. Teddy Sheringham, for me, when you've got two players that have both said you're the best strike partner they've ever had, and those two players are Alan Shearer and Jurgen Klinsmann, you're doing something right. Then he goes to Man United, and look, Teddy, top, but up there.
Yeah.
Up, because he wasn't quick. Up there, he was... different, just different gravy. Great question. Big up to that. Let's have another one. The Maha artist. I said the most underrated Spurs player ever. It's an interesting one. Most underrated ever.
Cool. Sure.
Everyone in the chat, who's your most underrated Spurs player? Underrated.
That's a tough one.
Could Moussa Dembele probably fall into that category?
Could do. It's a hard one because, sort of come from an era where players were good and they were recognised as being good. And the level of players, for me personally, in those days was better than they are today, because the pitches they played on, there were a lot of technical players. And I think everybody's just swept away because you've got the Premier League and it's on Sky and it's wall-to-wall coverage and everybody sees everything that's going on and tactics, and, you've got all your pundits now analysing everything. But the football that I saw was just amazing. It was just amazing. An underrated player, Christ. Whew. Probably, do you know what? In terms of the football world, I think the most underrated player for me is Ledley King. because he was phenomenal, and people didn't appreciate. A lot of the fan bases didn't, generally the football public didn't appreciate how good he was. And unfortunately, he injured his knee in his very first game when he made his debut for Spurs at Bradford in '89, and he never got over that injury. It just got progressively worse. But for me, King was just fabulous. I mean, he's in my all-time best 11 for Spurs. Loved him.
He never ever, from outside of Tottenham, gets the recognition, but
no.
People like Henry said he was the hardest opponent he's ever faced. And for me, listen, it's always catch-22 with Ledley, because I do believe that Ledley King, the injuries were a blessing and a curse. And you know what I mean by that, because I truly believe if he had been fit 38 games every season, I genuinely believe he wouldn't have been with Spurs. There's that bloody fly again. That one fly. It's attracted to all the lights I've got. I truly believe that he wouldn't have been with us for all those years had he have had 2 good knees. But what a footballer. Centre mid, centre back, left back. He just
he was superb, wasn't he? He was superb. Yeah. Can I just say to the comment that's on screen now from Destiny, Berbatov tarnished his reputation for me because he went on strike. I think we were at Sunderland and he went on strike to try and force the move through. I thought that was just out of order. That was wrong. I couldn't remember seeing a Spurs player doing that before, and Berbatov did. And a week later, he went out to Old Trafford and signed on transfer deadline day. Guy Butters.
Paul Moran, yeah. I remember Paul Moran. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, listen, there was many underrated players. I mean, or many that. Again, it's difficult. It depends whether we're talking about within the club or outside of the club's fan base. Moussa Dembele, top player. But does he get the credit from other fan bases?
So you have Mickey Hazard, who was there at the same time as Hoddle.
Another one was a very good player.
That was great. I'll tell you who was also a very good player, but was injury prone, was Neil McNabb, who made his debut for Spurs at 16. Very silky player.
Neil
McNabb.
God, what era are we going to?
Sorry, early 80s, I think.
Just a bit before me. I'm mid 80s onwards. I mean, if I'm going to start really remembering, I'm going 87-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bader, I don't think it's necessarily just about our fans though. There's a lot of players that we will go, oh my God, he's absolutely class. But other fan bases won't mention because they didn't win titles and stuff like that. Free the Right Side has said, for fuck's sake, it's Mabbott. I mean, Mabbott was widely regarded for me as a top player. But let's move on to another question. By the way, Phil P, who's been a member for 2 months. Big up Phil P. Always love Phil. So Paul Allen was underrated, so consistent. Paul Allen, part of the Allen family, right? There was like 4 or 5 of them, weren't there? Bradley, Paul, Clive. There was another one who played for us, wasn't there? Am I making that up? Was there? Or West Ham? Who played for West Ham?
Oh.
Someone Allen.
No, Paul Allen played for West Ham.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think he was the youngest player to play in a cup final at the time, wasn't he?
I think of that. Yeah, I knew something to do with, let's have a look. I'm just going to go on to his Wikipedia page. Paul Allen, let's have a look. Career, personal life. Allen comes from a family of footballers. His uncle's a former Reading striker, Dennis Allen, fellow Tottenham player, Les Allen. His cousins are Martin Allen, Clive Allen, and Bradley Allen.
There you
go. Played, he was at Spurs from 85 to 94. So he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons at Tottenham. So fair play. Big up Paul Allen, FA Cup winner.
For Phil P, that's a great shout, because that David Pleat team of 87, in the midfield 5, you had Waddle, Hoddle, Paul Allen, Steve Hodge. I'm trying to think who the 5th one was. Was it Ardiles? I'm trying to think, and with Clive Allen up front. And Paul Allen did a lot of the carry, a lot of the dirty work, and that wasn't seen, that wasn't noticed.
Doesn't Clive Allen go under the radar as
Yeah,
underrated for
I mean,
the volume of goals that Clive Allen scored?
He scored 49 that season, and it was
49.
49.
We think a season's good now if someone gets 18.
Yeah,
It's got 49.
49. 40, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. In all the big games, semi-finals, cup finals, he was absolutely superb. He was absolutely superb.
Madness. Let's have a look. A question from our Corey, who said, what legacy did players like Harry Kane leave behind? And how does it shape the club's future? Interesting.
Cool.
What legacy does Kane leave behind?
I'd like to think, and listen, I'd like to think Kane will be back in a Spurs shirt in about 12 months' time, because I think, you know, a player like him will go on and on and on, like Lewandowski has, like Ronaldo has, like Messi has, because he looks after himself. He's ultra professional, and he keeps himself super fit. What legacy would I say? I'd say anybody looking at Harry Kane for professionalism, the training he put in, constantly looking to better and improve himself. And I think, you know, if you look at Kane is the ultimate professional. I mean, I think he scored his 73rd goal for England last night. Scored all 4 games since Tuchel took over. No, I didn't see Blanchflower play, unfortunately. No.
Lubo's older than me, but I don't, you know, he's not Blanchflower. Hey, Blanchflower, by the way, if you do any reports on him, not you, but people talking about he was one of the best players in the country at the time, old Danny Blanchflower. But
yeah.
Look, there are lots of good players. This is one. I like these who. This is interesting. Angus, big up to our resident Arsenal. I think he supports Spurs secretly, Lubo. I think Angus has got, I reckon he's got one of them half and half shirts. You know, I think it's Arsenal on the front. I reckon if you turn around, I reckon he's probably got like a Sun shirt or a Kane shirt, something on the back. Who's the best British player of all time? British. Now that's a great talking point. Everyone in the chat, of all time versus Premier League. I mean, this is Lubo. Go.
George Best. He was brilliant.
No hesitation. George Best.
George Best.
All the people that I used to work with at Charlton that were of older age, that coached, that played, former players, former managers, all said George Best. And then whenever I watched videos of George Best, I was like, oh, you're naughty. Like, oh, the ball was stuck. It was messy. Like the ball was stuck at his feet.
It was.
And he was taking some of those goals where he dummied the keeper twice and stuff. Like, you know, when you're like, but also top man, when he like top shagger of the year and dated Miss Worlds and listen, George Best. More recently, let me change the question for you. Best British player in the Premier League era. So I'll throw a few out there. People in the chat can tell me. I'll throw a few out there. So
I know who the first one you're going to throw out is.
Go on.
I know you're going to throw Thierry Henry out to start with.
No, British.
British player in the Premier League era.
I'm going to throw out straight away a player that for some reason, and I think due to off-field activities, gets overlooked in all of these conversations, is Ryan Giggs, the most decorated player of the last 30 years. Gareth Bale has got to surely be in that conversation.
Paul Scholes.
Scholes. Gerrard.
Yeah.
Rio. Maybe. I'm Ashley Cole, by the way. Best left back I think I've seen in the last 30 years in this country, certainly in the Premier League. Anybody else in the chat? Because what Giggs never gets this love. And let's be brutally honest, Ryan Giggs did it in the Premier League for like 20 years. He's won the most ever Premier League titles. He's so decorated. He did it at the age of 17 when he burst onto the scene. One of the best players I've seen in the Premier League era. But whenever people do their Premier League 11s, I hardly ever see Giggs' name mentioned.
I know.
Mad, isn't it?
And he's won more Premier League medals than anybody, top, Championship winners' medals than anybody else.
Hasn't he got 13, if I'm not wrong? Let me have a look.
12 or 13, yeah.
Here you go. Right,
he won 13 in 20 years, was it?
Here you go. Ryan Giggs is regarded as one of the greatest players of his generation and one of the best wingers in football history. Giggs spent his entire career. He's one of the most decorated footballers of all time, and he's one of only 51 players to have made over 1,000 appearances for the club. I'm just going to go down to his league titles. God, his honours list is scary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 Premier Leagues, 4 FA Cups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 League Cups,
2 Champions Leagues,
2 Champions Leagues, a UEFA Super Cup, an Intercontinental Cup, and a FIFA World Club Cup. PFA Team of the Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. PFA Player of the Year once. Young Player of the Year twice. Jesus, he's decorated, isn't he? Like, he is decorated. Wow.
I'm miles behind on the chat. Machina Joe asked me best player to play for Everton and Spurs.
Yeah.
Is that two separate questions, or is that the same player who's played for Everton and Spurs?
I reckon it's someone who's played for both, and I'm reckoning that we've had 2 great ones, by the way.
Well, I'll tell you who I loved for Everton, because I played centre half, was Kevin Ratcliffe. I thought was absolutely superb. So he would probably go down, because I thought that team that he was in.
No, but did he play for Spurs as well?
No. I mean, best player to play for Everton and Spurs. I mean, how many are there? I can't think of too many.
Ginola?
Richie, Ginola.
Gaza?
Yes.
Did Nick Barmby? He played for Everton, didn't he?
Possibly. Yeah, probably Gaza.
Dele Alli?
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Once you start going, there are a few, aren't there?
Did Pat Van den Hauwe play for Everton?
Yeah.
Pat Van den Hauwe. I'd love Pat Van den Hauwe in our back four.
Can you imagine? I've got to say, he wouldn't play much. He'd have red card after red card.
Yeah. He'd be sent off most weeks, wouldn't he?
He was like Stu Ness was for Liverpool.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Destiny 5. Yeah, listen, I'm not bringing that stuff in. Like, I don't want to do that stuff. Otherwise, we have to start discrediting Maradona and Gaza and Best and Giggs. Let's talk football, eh? Let's do football. Let's just do football. Hoddle or Gaza?
Hoddle just.
Oh, great players, weren't they? Yeah,
I must say, Gascoigne, when people used to go stand outside the training grounds, when Gaza was at Spurs, he'd come out, he would sign every kid's autograph. He was there long after all the other players had gone. Great personality.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, it's I love these questions. I love David has said Lubo stats knowledge is sensational. Absolutely sensational. 49 goals a season would be a world record signing now. Ian, imagine how much right now a 49 goal a season striker goes for.
Well, how much is Gokares going to go for? There's your answer.
He'll go for about 70, won't he, old Gokares? Yeah.
He scored 55 last season, I think.
Oh, he scored goals. Where are we? I am going to leave it. I'm going to finish bang on 7. So I've got 8 more minutes. I'm going to finish bang on 7 because I am going to have a night where I don't stream unless the Thomas Frank news breaks. I always caveat to the wife, I'm not streaming tonight unless this happens. And she's just got back from holiday, so I need to spend some time with her. Yeah, listen, a great players, people like Stanley Matthews, people like Kenny Dalglish. No one talked about Roy Keane. I mean, he's got to be in there purely for the I mean, surely for what he's done, a great player. People say Gaza, Dalglish, best, Rooney, Jimmy Greaves.
I mean, I saw Rooney play. Spurs played Everton in a Youth Cup match, which was the April before the October when Rooney made his debut and scored against Arsenal. And Rooney was like a man amongst boys. He just killed everybody. Everton won 2-0 that night, knocked Spurs out of the semi-final. Rooney was brilliant. How do I rate Steve Perryman? Steve Perryman's in my best 11 for Tottenham Hotspur. Fabulous. I mean, lovely guy. I went to see a trust evening with him in 2008, 2009 down in Enfield. Finished up having a chat with him afterwards for 15 minutes. He was absolutely superb. Tottenham through and through, out and out legend. Really was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's people putting players like Beckham in there. I mean, I would say Beckham was an icon of British football. I don't know if I'm putting him in the same category as Kenny Dalglish, George Best, Paul Gascoigne.
You know what was a real shame? I'll tell you what was a real shame. You mentioned Roy Keane before.
Yeah.
Venables had 3 players lined up in 1993 before him and Sugar had the final fallouts. They were bringing in Tim Flowers, Des Walker, and Roy Keane. And all 3 transfers went down when Sugar kicked Venables out and the court case started. What a shame. You know, we just seem to be that nearly team, don't we? Up to Bilbao. Let's hope it changes. Let's hope it changes.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, yeah, people talk about Alan Shearer. I mean, I think the thing for me with Shearer, I mean, as an out-and-out goal scorer, I mean, Alan Shearer was phenomenal, wasn't he? Like, and the thing is, I think people forget. I say people forget. I don't know. Alan Shearer had loads of injuries, so that goal ratio could have been even better if he had played when he was injured. But listen, top player Ali McCoist, laugh out loud. I'll tell you what, I do like Ali McCoist as a commentator. By the way, I think he's good. But I suppose it depends what floats your boat. Yeah, I mean, listen, Brian Robson is another. What a top player Brian Robson was. For both Manchester United and England, top player. There's so many good players. Sol Campbell, Sam.
No, Campbell was great for Spurs. You know, everyone was really pissed off when he left, particularly going there.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we are going to end the show there, Lubo, if that's all right with you. We will end the show there. Lots of great comments today. And obviously, depending if Stel's back or not next week, Lubo might be joining us. Colton Palmer, not quite. Colton Palmer, not quite. I remember Colton Palmer very, very well. I remember Graham Taylor getting a lot of stick for playing Colton Palmer. And was it the game against Sweden when we got knocked out? The old turnip in the newspaper. And I think that it was Colton Palmer was the one that was being used as a bit of a scapegoat in the England midfield.
Can I just answer Barder 622? I considered Messi as an average player. Well, no, I didn't. I think Messi, for me, is the best player in modern times. I'm just an old romantic for football that love the old players. I remember going to Fulham when Santos came down. It was 4 degrees below, and we were my dad took me. We were by the Thames. And we just went to watch Pele, and the guy was just phenomenal. He was just great. And, you know, I've been very privileged to see Pele. I went to Arsenal the summer after pre-season after they won the double in 71. Benfica went down purely to see Eusebio, another fabulous player. I've seen all the greats now. And I was delighted because I'd never seen Messi live. And we were at Wembley against Barcelona in 2017, I think, 2017, 2018. And Messi was amazing that day. They smacked us 4-2. And that was one of the best performances from any player I've ever seen. So, no, I love Messi, prefer Messi to Ronaldo. I think Messi was more of a team player. Ronaldo was fabulous player, but more selfish than Messi.
Lubo, I've seen Lionel Messi 4 times live at the Camp Nou. And every time I watched, I thought he can't do anything different. And you're just watching him in the flesh going, I've never seen, for me, live, I've never seen anyone manipulate a football. Messi, like, players would come at him and you'd think they're going to clatter him. And he'd nutmeg them, like, with ease. He'd drift past them. He'd low center of gravity. They'd kick the life out of him. He'd get up and carry it. For me, the greatest ever. I appreciate that everyone's going to have their own greatest ever. For me, he is hands down the greatest I've ever seen. What I will say is I'm going to leave it there. But, Rob Welsh, you still there? Can Lubo go the whole show without roasting Daniel Levy? If he does, I'll give £50 to the charity of your choice. Are you there, Rob Welsh? I'm going to see if he's there for 60 seconds. I'm going to wait 60 seconds to see if Rob's still there. Rob, what are you saying? Lubo hasn't said anything bad about Daniel Levy the entire show. No one's even tried to goad him into saying something really bad about Daniel Levy. But hey, it is what it is. Guys, girls, I am going to leave it there. What a great show. Really enjoyed that, Lubo. So thank you very much for joining.
That's brilliant. And so everybody watching and everybody in the comments, fantastic. What a great show. You know, it's so nice. You go back, you talk about good times, great players. Been a fabulous show. It's such a, you know what, football's such an amazing sport. And play, you know, you look back across history with football, not just Spurs, but with football, and we've all been blessed to see some absolutely phenomenal players. So long may it continue. And this is why football drives us, takes us from up there to down there. Fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely.
By the way,
to Gus, the Clement save in '84 at Loftus Road was phenomenal. My favourite was Pat Jennings against Newcastle, 76 League Cup semi-final, one-handed save that was just unbelievable. I think it was Tommy Craig got hold of it from the edge of the box. If you can YouTube that, Spurs Newcastle League Cup semi-final first leg in '76. Unfortunately, we lost 3-1 in the second leg. We were walking out the ground. We had to go running back in the ground because there were about 300 lunatics chasing us. You know, memories. But Pat Jennings in that first leg, fantastic.
Yeah. By the way, when people start talking about, but could Messi do it on a muddy pitch? Listen, I feel like we shouldn't belittle one of the greatest footballers the world has ever seen by saying that. I see a lot of people say, but could he do it at Stoke? Yes, the Stoke players wouldn't get anywhere near him to kick him. This is what people just say. Oh, they clatter him. Messi would drift past them for fun. He did it against every top Premier League team, but we go, could he do it at Stoke? Yes. I'm going to end it on that. Yes, he could do it at Stoke. I reckon he'd get 6 goals on the night at Stoke. Guys, big up to everybody out there. Please smash the like button. We're 1 subscriber, by the way, away from 18.5k. One. So
one more thing, Sav. One more thing. Both Sav and myself on the 2 Mark show have put together our best ever Spurs 11. Be great. Everybody go on there, see what you think, see who you think would win. I think my team would win the Premiership. I think Sav might just make top 4. Be interesting to hear what you all think.
Everybody, this is going to be Lubo's last appearance on the show. He's starting to lose his marbles, and unfortunately, he won't be coming back on. Listen, everybody, take care. I don't think there's any football tonight. Oh, by the way, big up to my man Moose out there in the US. We've got to answer the question. Moose said, "Good day, mates." Right at the end, this is like a 97th-minute goal, Moose, because we are ending the show. Quick one, Semenyo thoughts. Lubo, lots of talk about Semenyo. I like him.
I think they're asking.
Anyone now can ask whatever they want. Apparently, a player that Frank likes. Could he do with him what he's done with Mbeumo? What are you saying about Semenyo? Thank you very much, Moose. You're a gentleman. Thank you.
What do I think? I think Solanke will be praying that he joins.
Yep.
He's pretty good. Scores goals in his own right as well. We need players like this. We need exciting players. We need players who can conjure something out of nothing. That's what we've been lacking.
Yeah. Yeah, Pat. I like him, Moose, to answer your question. I think he's direct. He runs at people. He can play off the right or the left. He gets into good positions and score goals. He gives fullbacks a tough game. At the moment, I don't think we've got people that give fullbacks a tough game. When we're talking about the amount of money, unfortunately, homegrown footballers are going to cost a lot of money.
Sure.
That's the way it is. You look at how much Mbuemo's going for, Eze, Guehi, Semenyo, Matty K. You keep asking why it's not confirmed. This is a lot. I've tried to tell you this before, Matty. We're not just going and taking Frank. We're negotiating 6, 7, 8 contracts of his staff, release clauses, solicitors involved, intermediaries, agents. This is not Football Manager, Matty. We keep talking about this. This is not an easy deal to do, is it, Lubo? There's a lot behind the scenes.
Sure. They'll get there. Don't worry. Spurs will get there. We'll get our players. Looking forward to next season. One quick thing, Sav. Barter, 629. Do I know the Spurs lineup against Sheffield United in the 1901 FA Cup final? Sorry, can't answer that one. But, and this is, if anybody knows anybody who's got a programme from that cup final, please let me know. And if they're looking to sell.
Absolutely. Yeah, see, I think this is harsh at the moment. At the moment, what we're saying about, I think Daniel Levy, whatever you want to say about him for his period of time, right? And I know Lubo can't say anything bad because Rob Welsh is here now and he's going to name the charity. I'll tell you what, if you would be so kind, a charity that is very, very, very close to my heart is the British Heart Foundation. Both my parents went due to heart issues. So for me, that would be amazing if you do that. And if you do, we'll trust you that you've done that. So big up to you. That is very, very generous if you're going to do that and stick that in. Thank you very much. I think people have got to get, I'm seeing loads of people going, oh, it's not done yet. Typical Levy. When was the last time Spurs sacked a manager, went to a club, took them and 6, 7, 8 staff, right? That is not done overnight. This is a tough deal, people. Give Levy his dues on this one. He's done the right thing, Lubo. This time he's done the right thing.
I think so. Listen, it's at the end of the day, these things have got to be done correctly, professionally. Yeah. You're talking about a £10 million compensation fee to go to Brentford. I think it's 8. I think it's 8 for Frank and 2 for his team, from what I'm reading. So it's got to be done properly. You don't want something half done, half-assed, half-baked. It's got to be done correctly. I think it's fine. They've related.
Don't bite. You're not allowed. Don't bite. We've made 50 quid for charity tonight. Don't bite. Don't bite.
No, you could, Dan. You could be right. You could be right today. I know he'll be laughing.
Lubo's currently in the West Wing of Daniel Levy's estate somewhere. Listen, I am going to leave it there. Listen, first of all, big up to Moose for the super chat. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Thank you for all your super chats. Big up to Rob Welsh for the money and the charity. Guys and girls, we are 1 subscriber away from 18.5k. 1.
Come on, guys. One more.
There's the link. One more. Smash it in. Lubo, thank you very much. I'm going to go and eat some dinner. I'm tired.
Me too.
Matty, it's all happening behind the scenes. Just relax. Take a chill pill. It's all you can't just rush everything that happens. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Lubo. Really appreciate it. Take care. Much love. And I'll be back in the morning for the 10 a.m. show. Is tomorrow the day? We'll see. Take care, everyone. And as always, come on, you Spurs. And as Lubo likes to say, Levy in.